Hey everybody, it's Zach and I like movies, and it's time for another entry in my Criterion Challenge of Letterboxd for 2024. And today's prompt was number 20, which was to review a movie out of the 100 Years of Olympic Films series. And felt pretty appropriate given that the Olympics are ongoing now, and hope everyone's enjoying, hope everyone enjoyed the opening ceremony with Paris, and already there's like stupid controversy with a bunch of right-wing weirdos transvestigating female athletes like they usually do. It's just stupid and annoying, and the Olympics are... I don't love the Olympics or anything. I mean, yeah, go team, go sports. Love seeing competitions. Simone Biles is crushing it lately, but that's not what this is about. Now, this is about the movies, and I'm here to talk about the 1965 mega classic of not just Olympic films, but sports docs in general. Any movie about sports. This is Tokyo Olympiad, and this is from director Kon Ichikawa. Now, this is a sports documentary that focused on the 1964 games in Tokyo. And now these games were seen as very important to the Japanese government at the time because this was like the first time. This was like one of the first times they were chosen to host the games. And it was like right after, it was like not soon after, well, after their massive L they took in World War II, and they're just on the precipice of their massive economic boom in like the 80s, and this was meant to be a big event, a big showcase to show the rest of the world that not only had yes, the Japanese have been beaten, but they are now bounced back, and they are not just recovered, but they are thriving. Tokyo is this major metropolis now, and it's become a real center and a real economic powerhouse. But that mission statement would almost inevitably doom this movie to a similar fate of Leni Riefenstahl's Olympia. That's a pair of films about the 1936 Olympics in Munich, which given, and that was a similar showcase of, like, nationalistic power and glory, and it's Leni Riefenstahl in 1936 Germany, so it was did a lot to make the Nazis look cool, and boy did Leni Riefenstahl love making Nazis look cool. But fortunately, things did not work out the way that was planned. This project was actually once offered to the god himself, Akira Kurosawa, but plans fell through because Kurosawa wanted more creative control, and there was big budget concerns. And eventually, the project landed in the hands of Kon Ichikawa, who is a director that doesn't really get talked about as much as his peers of the big three that we generally associate with the golden age of Japanese cinema. It's Kurosawa, and there's Kenji Mizoguchi, and Yasujiro Ozu. Compared to those three auteurs, Ichikawa was much more of a journeyman director, more often than not. But he did have a string of very acclaimed movies during a period of his career. Tokyo Olympiad among them, and what was interesting about Tokyo Olympiad, especially compared to like other sports docs, and what was sort of the outstated goal of the project, was that Ichikawa doesn't really like focus on like any nationalistic glory, and he sort of does away with that by how he frames the Japanese athletes in here. He sort of like mixes them amongst the rest of the competitors. They are now one of many nations competing, not one nation standing above the rest, which very upset the committee a great deal behind this. They wanted to see Tokyo, be this big metropolis, powerhouse. They wanted to see the Japanese flag go up the pole. But Ichikawa was not satisfied with just making sort of a road documentary like that. He wanted, and he approached this in a much more experimental fashion. And you see, and that's very clearly evident a lot. And I think the experiments that he committed to really paid off, because wow, does this movie really live up to its reputation as one of the titans of sports docs. Because a lot of what he was doing here didn't just like go on to inspire a lot of like sports docs that came after it, but a lot of also kind of had a hand in influencing how day-to-day sports broadcast is done. There was such he had such incredible access to these powerful telephoto lenses, and these he had like well over 100 cameramen at all times, just photographing the entire event, and he uses a lot of like interesting like film, like basically the entire playbook of filmmaking techniques that you can think of to like really to like show the games as like not just an event for Tokyo, but also a communal event for the world and the competing nations. I was found so fascinating that there wasn't that much glory or focus given to the Japanese athletes here. And granted, there is some attention given when they do win events like judo or wrestling or whatever, but in terms of like individual focus, there's just as much attention paid to visiting athletes, and just as much attention paid to the crowd watching it. The crowd, like the shots of the crowd, is marvelous at times, and and a lot of the experimentation that he was doing in terms of like the use of slow motion too. Dude, my God, like, if you've ever seen a slow motion replay, that probably does owe a little bit to Tokyo Olympiad in some way, because like a lot of like not just like the slow motion here, the extreme slow motion where you get the full breadth of this and the beauty of the human body in motion, in how it responds to crisis, and in the movement and the grace of like, say, a pole vaulter, or the power you see in like the sprinters. It's something, it's things that you can grasp, but you can't fully see in all of its state, and all of its like everything that goes into just the running and the motion of the running, without seeing it in like hyper slow motion that it does. And there's even just like as much attention in like the macro of the full body as like the micro of parts of the body, like the way that he uses these lenses, and to like he'll like isolate a face in like deep focus, or like he'll like when they photograph like one of the like lawn shooting events, he'll like give attention to a marksman's cheek just like resting on the butt of the rifle, and up close shots of their hands on the gun, and it's so marvelous. The whole time I watched this, I kept thinking, how did they get this shot? How did they achieve this? What was the shot list like, if that was even possible? And a major credit, I think that has to go to the director of photography here, who is one of the greatest director of photographies ever, definitely of Japanese cinema, and his name was Kazuo Miyagawa. And he pioneered a cinematographic technique known as bleach bypass, which is enacted a chemical effect that like sort of a partially or completely skipped bleaching component, the bleaching when it came to processing color film, and you see a lot of his honestly, like his pedigree is like so impressive. He's worked with he worked with those greats the big three, like at least more than once. Like he worked with Kurosawa on like Rashomon and Yojimbo. He's worked on. He worked with Mizoguchi on Ugetsu. He worked on Sancho the Bailiff, which was another legendary Japanese film. He worked with Ozu on Floating Weeds, and he's done a number of Zatoichi films. But my God, the imagery here that he and Ichikawa capture, and all their team of cameramen that they capture here is so beautifully composed and so breathtaking that it truly does like leave me breathless watching it. Because like again, it gets so much of the big scope of it. Like early on there's this beautiful extreme wide of the torchbearer just like running from left to right, and like Mount Fuji's in the background, and it's just, you get the scale, and you get this massive scale of just like the land of Japan, but also like the endurance of the runner as he like just runs across left to right across the screen. And yeah, a lot of the editing is wonderful too. Like, my God, the rhythms of the editing is so lyrical at times, but like, again, as I said before about like capturing the beauty and grace of the human body in motion, like when it like shows off the gymnasts doing their routines, or the high jumpers, trying to clear the bar without knocking it over. And other times it gets there's a sense of playfulness too. Like there's a moment where like there's a high jumper, Fred Hansen, who clears the bar, and you get a shot of the crowd, the American crowd, just like cheering and going nuts, and then you get a quick shot of the Japanese crowd. They're just staring in what I can only describe as collective disappointment, and then back to the cheering crowd. It was pretty funny. and even then, like, there's other parts where you have the it was like the walking race where you have these Olympic athletes, doing that like silly fast walk you did back in middle school, and there's playful music playing in the background. There is a sense of like kind of showing the ridiculousness of sports as well, and it's very fun, and it's also so wonderfully quick too. Like, you get as much of the events as possible, and like certain events are like shown off more than others. Like you get a whole sequences of like the runners, be it like the 100-meter dashes, the shot putters and lawn jumpers, and the relay racers, and my God, like, also the sound design of this film is stupendous. It's like there's a sequence of where they photographs women's hurling race, and starting gun fires, and this great square wide of the women like running down the track. It's like staring right down the middle as women run down the track, and the sound cuts out entirely, and they leap, and one of the hurdler's foot catches on a hurdle, and it just makes this loud clang, and it's such a it's so gorgeous, it's so crisp too. Like, microphones like captured everything, and the way that the editing and the sound is like paced out, not just in the moment to moment editing is great, but also scene to scene, and it'll kind of be like this like sort of like crashing waves of like motion and power of say we'll get the whimsy and command and control of a gymnast doing their set, and then it'll like sort of take a pause as it'll like focuses on this athlete named Ahmed Issa, and it just had this brief focus on Issa, because Ichikawa finds this athlete fascinating because he's representing a country from Africa named Chad, who at the time was only like 4 years old. And then we see like when the Chad representatives walk out, the opening ceremony, it is the flag bearer and two guys, and there's such there's such fascination that he finds in this one athlete, just sort of in this sort of like wanting to like sort of explore Tokyo, but like kind of can't, because he like he has to. He's here for a reason. He's here to represent his small African nation. And there's something that's sort of somewhat inspirational about that, but also kind of lonely in that too. How he feels. How there's a shot of like him sort of like eating by himself in the dining hall, and then even after that, it'll like break into the swimming events and the weightlifting, and oftentimes they'll like change up how he's portraying the events. Like he'll have he'll like intercut it with like black and white still photographs of like the fencers and the swimmers, and like you'll hear the clang of the clashing fencing swords or the splash of the water, and then or how he portrays boxing, the boxing event, because he doesn't really show the boxing event. He just sees a black and white filming this one boxer who was like won out in the heavyweight division, and we just follow him, and then we get the results of who all won, and it's so interesting how he's just sort of doing everything he can to make these events. It's not like he's really repeating himself with each of these moments like when he's doing, or like when he tries to like illustrate weightlifting, he'll like use like drawings of the different forms of weightlifting to explain how the event is scored and such. And it's such a fascinating way to illustrate these events and like give variety to how these events are portrayed, the effect is really breathtaking. Again, and like for a movie as long as it is, it's like 10 minutes short of 3 hours. The time just flies by. Even in like one of the longer sequences, like towards the end, they have the marathon runners, where they start up, and you get brief part of not just the crowd like watching and cheering them on through this long event, and where the race starts, and it's like, they're all just taking a brisk jog, but then like it keeps going, and you see event organizers setting up drinks and water-soaked sponges for the passing runners, and there's these long shots of like this Ethiopian runner, Abebe Biklia, who is on his run, and it's like this sequence that goes on for like 20 minutes, where almost half of it, which it's focusing on like his face, like in intense focus on his run, and then he'll like creep back out into the fuller wide, where he's like, you see just how isolated he is even amidst like the crowd watching and cheering him, and how far ahead he is from everyone else, because like he broke the record there when he won. It was like he won it like 2 hours, 12 minutes and 11 seconds. The last guy that finished, because 10 did not, but the last guy who finished came in at just shy of 15 hours. So that was a long event. And and it's so, it really does live up to its hype. And then you have the closing ceremony, which is just this lovely celebration of, again, just like being part of this global community, which is kind of like on the whole, the spirit of what the Olympics represents, of just coming together in ostensibly friendly competition, and just sort of being part of the world together, and competing in the sports that we love, and cheering on for our nation's champions and other champions, because let's face it, face it, as even as an American, even watching as an American, like I remember going crazy when Michael Phelps won all those gold medals back in Beijing in '08. Like a lot of the athletes around here, like from like other other various nations, they're so amazing because like I'm not a sport guy, but when you see somebody who is like so good at what they do, you can't help but be amazed. And it's something that's it's something that's beautiful that you see in not just see throughout Tokyo Olympiad, but especially in its closing ceremony sequence. And it has this beautiful little poem when it says, "When night falls, the sacred fire returns to the sun. Humans dream only once every 4 years. The peace we have created, are we going to let it go away, just like a dream that fades away?" Right, and the teams give their farewells, and the crowd joyously cheer them on, and they wave their handkerchiefs saying goodbye. They will meet again in Mexico, and that closes our time on the land of the rising sun, and that closes Tokyo Olympiad, and it's marvelous. I can't recommend this enough. This is truly a feat of beauty. It's a marvelous movie. I absolutely have to own this physically. This absolutely needs to be in everybody's home, I think. And it's currently streaming on Criterion Channel. It's definitely worth the time. It's wonderful. Cannot recommend this enough. I think Ichikawa really outdid himself here. It's, yeah, go sports, go Olympics. And if I had to, highly recommend Tokyo Olympiad. And since I'm me, I have to recommend another movie for you. It's yet another big one of sports docs. It's Hoop Dreams from 1994. Great movie about inner city kids getting scouted when they're young. This is also one of the great sports docs. Can't recommend that enough. I also can't recommend, again, Tokyo Olympiad is amazing. Absolutely a wonderful, wonderful film. I'm running out of good things to say about it. Just a wonderful trip. It's hypnotizing. It's breathtaking. It's a wonderful tribute to the human body, to sports, to physicality, and the human spirit, and it's marvelous. It's really is. It really is a masterpiece, I think. And so yeah, that's my review. I hope you enjoyed. Hope you go out and see it. Comment, like, subscribe. I hope you what sports doc do you really love? I think that'll get some good. Well, what's not just sports doc? What sports move? What's your go-to sports movie? Whether it's something hard hitting or like something like Hoop Dreams, or even something as like fun and silly as like one of those like Disney inspirational sports movies, like Remember the Titans or Cool Runnings. I loved Cool Runnings, and I think that'll be it for me. I got things are looking a little tight right now, but I look forward to watching more movies and talking about them, because I wouldn't be me if I didn't do that. And that'll be me. I'm Zach. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you watch this movie, and because I love watching movies. I have a lot of movies to still watch, and I hope you watch them too. And I will see you all later.